Maryborough traffic, microlight 634, so enters back tracks 17, Maryborough.
Maryborough traffic, TechNam 3063, currently 8 miles to the northeast, 3,500, above airworks in the northeastern training area, not above 3,500. Maryborough traffic. 340. 1233, check it in.
Alright, this morning's video, well, I learned something. For all these years, I didn't understand something. There is a saying you might have heard, you don't know what you don't know. And part of getting your endorsement or certifications to fly, one of the endorsements actually, to do cross-country, that's what it is, one of those. There's some different radio procedures, which actually should be part of your original certification too anyway. Now you can hear this radio going on in the background, and I'll tell you why that is. It's pretty busy though. A little bit distracting maybe. But that's air traffic services. More specifically this area, Brisbane Centre.
I'll be adding full-length flying videos, or otherwise known as slow videos, to my other channel called Stuart Riddell Time Traveller. Recently, I had a conversation that went something like this. Hey Stu, you know you should use area frequency above 3,500 feet, don't you? No? Where did you get that information? Well, that's what I heard and that's what I've been told. Yeah, but where have you seen it written? Yeah, well, that's what you're supposed to do. Where does this information come from? So the conversation continued like this. So did you get that information? Well, yeah, I asked the instructor. Where did he get the information? We still don't know. Can you find out, perhaps? Do you think you could find out where you get the information from? Could you ask the instructor? Yep, I'll do that.
So I'll keep talking over the top because I can't get a word in otherwise, hey. So what's happening here? Well, I've never really understood how to use air traffic services or Brisbane Centre for this area. And the point is that you are supposed to be, or it's recommended that you monitor it. You monitor it for the area that you're in. We're in the Maryborough area at the moment, so we're on the Maryborough frequency, which is 124.6. Now, every time I talk, they talk. That's how busy it is at the moment. And that's just this area. I've never seen aircraft before, but they could be up to 12, 15, 20,000 feet, I believe. So anyway, this is a safety protocol that if we monitor, we can hear some of the traffic in the area, and Brisbane Centre might even contact me and say, hey, there is an aircraft in your vicinity, and you can use them actually to tell you if there's any IFR traffic, and you can ask them what the weather's doing ahead of you, because that's air traffic services. But I haven't been monitoring it. You know, I haven't, because I haven't known to, and I haven't known why, and I've never understood. Why is that? Why is that? So in Harvey Bay, Maryborough area, we have a dedicated, allocated CTAF, which is a common traffic advisory frequency, which is 126.55. And that's what you monitor, and that's what you use, and that's the key word, use. But apparently you should also be monitoring air traffic services so that you can get a bit of a feel for the wider dynamic situation that's going on with other aircraft that might be coming into the area. Anyway, the CTAF for Maryborough Harvey Bay extends out, they overlap too, but it extends out 10 nautical miles. Outside 10 nautical miles, you're in no man's land. There is no radio frequency to use. And if you want to talk to your buddies, you talk to them on the chat channel, or in America are called fingers. We know what that is. It's another story. However, there are some aerodromes with allocated frequency, which is 126.7. Now, 126.7 is also known as the Multicom. And why is that? Because some aerodromes aren't allocated a frequency, and where that is the case, and where they appear on the aeronautical flying charts, aeronautical aviation charts, the navigation charts, all that, where they appear on those, the frequency automatically becomes 126.7. If they aren't on there, I guess you can use the fingers. Yeah, you know what I mean. That frequency, the chat channel, or if you choose to do so, you can use the 126.7. So I hope that's a bit more of a clarification. However, there's a little bit more to the story. It's very hard to find information. I haven't yet found anything that documents this, except to say VFR traffic is recommended to monitor the area frequency. Well, okay. And then someone said to me recently, you should and must monitor the area frequency above 3,500. I cannot for the life of me find that anywhere. We're not supposed to be transmitting on that frequency, on the area frequency, to our buddies, unless it's a question to Brisbane Centre or the area services about the weather or IFR possible traffic. So that's the story. That's as far as I know so far.
A couple of days later. So where did the instructor get the information from? He said to refer to the plain English version 91, part 91. Righto, let's do that. So I went thumbing through all the documents, all the aviation manuals, everything, looking for this information. Couldn't find anything specifically anywhere that dealt with when a untrained area, air traffic control space, radio communications untaught pilot can get information. Where do we get information? I don't know.
If I have any more, I'll add it to the end of this video if I haven't yet published it. But I'm not an instructor, be aware. I'm just trying to find out what the go is. There is an instructor flying at the airport this morning. I will be asking him. One of the guys that I fly with and be flying with this morning, he will be, I'll be asking him. He's asked the instructor already, so I don't need to really, but I'll ask him because I asked specifically, as we should do, where does it specify this information in the formal documents? Because I've looked through a lot of things and all I can find is recommendations and nothing really formal, nothing about transmitting apart from the asking for traffic or weather. And I always thought, so this is the crux of the whole problem for me, I always thought that we talked on 1267 anywhere where there was no allocated frequency, because that's how you can pick up other people and talk to them if they're on the same. Because I think that's been a general bad habit in the aviation community here, and so you'll pick people up on there, flying from point A to point B, and point B being where there's a Multicom 1267 frequency. I had one more thing to say about that. I got distracted. Notice how the area frequencies now have gone a bit quieter. And by the way, I'm still on the CTAF as well. There is no 1267 here at all. There's no runways in this area. So I might as well stay on the Maryborough frequency. I'm just coming into this area called Tyro because there's some low-lying cloud which looks like it would have been fog. Further ahead there's more. I'll do a little lap here and then we will head back to Maryborough, and then we'll head up to Childers for a coffee. You should be monitoring the area frequency when you're outside the allocated CTAF areas, such as Maryborough, Harvey Bay, and Bundaberg, I believe, whereas Childers is a Multicom non-allocated frequency. Well, it is actually allocated from memory. They're on 1267 Multicom. They're on the charts, and if you monitor them or you use that frequency, but only within the 10 nautical mile radius of the airfield, otherwise outside that area it's not really applicable. The plan would be, if you hear another aircraft where you are on area frequency, you shouldn't reply to them, because it's like controlled airspace. And another key point, I haven't got controlled airspace endorsement, radio endorsement, or controlled airspace entry access anyway. So I haven't been trained that because I haven't needed it. But there's kind of an overlap now between air traffic services and control frequencies and flying Class G airspace VFR.
So I flew into Gympie recently and I spoke to an instructor there, and he said, you need to use the radio this way, and that is monitor area frequency, because area frequency monitoring using broadcasting aircraft pilots will be using that frequency, and you will hear them. And if you hear them on that frequency, you shouldn't talk to them. You shouldn't use that frequency. Okay, so how do I communicate? With them? Well, you will broadcast on the Multicom or the CTAF for that area, that frequency for that aerodrome. But normally you'd be using CTAF in those areas around the aerodrome. And when you're at Class G airspace, you can monitor area frequency, but use Multicom 126.7. 126.7. You mean I can use 126.7 in Class G, Class Golf airspace? That's right. Yeah, but how will they know or hear me? How will those IFR pilots hear me? And this is the bit I didn't know. This is the bit I've never been taught. I've never been taught IFR. I'm not an IFR pilot. Those IFR pilots, the RPTs and the flying doctors, they will be monitoring Multicom 126.7. If they hear you broadcast on 126.7, they will talk to you on 126.7. And you can also talk to them on 126.7 if you hear them broadcast or receive information on area frequency that pertains to your location and you need to talk to them. Use 126.7. They will be monitoring 126.7. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So where's it written? Well, it's not. It's not specifically written. It's common sense information. Common sense information that is written in such a way as to say, whatever is safer. Use safe procedures. 9.1.7. In the vicinity of uncharted aerodromes, pilots have discretion to use the most appropriate frequency that ensures safe operation. This may be 126.7. However, pilots should be aware that transiting aircraft will be monitoring area VHF. To ensure mutual traffic awareness, it is recommended that pilots using an alternative frequency also monitor area VHF.
I'll wrap this up with a clarification, a picture. That's probably the easiest way to do it now that I've messed you up completely. But I'll have to get the right information first this morning. just down here on our right. So there's not even a point right now
Approach 123, that's
in making a radio call to say I'm in the Tyro area, because it's not relevant. If there's an aircraft here we see and avoid, listen to the radio. They won't be on it, they shouldn't be on it, and we just look out for them.
In other words, check out these maps I've made. This is a bit of an idea. None of this is to be taken as the way you should do it. Use your own common sense, use your own safe protocols. There is numerous areas of controlled traffic, CTR and CTA areas, around major airfields such as Sydney, Brisbane, Victoria, Perth, and Darwin, and many more. So those areas use their own allocated frequencies and protocols. Most aircraft are operating in Class G airspace from sea level right up to 10,000 feet. And that's for the recreational and VFR pilots, generally speaking. After that, we have from 3,000 feet to above, all the way up to flight levels. We have the IFR traffic and the regular passenger transports and the other commercial type traffic and aircraft that are flying through and around Australia, mostly IFR. So above 3,000, VFR traffic is sharing the airspace with IFR traffic, and that's where it becomes important to use your radio correctly. There are also many airstrips out in the country, rural areas, private airstrips, known as ALAs or authorised landing areas, and some of those have an allocated frequency, or they might just use the Multicom 1267. Think of it this way: all VFR traffic between the altitudes of sea level and 10,000 feet not in a CTA, CTR or CTAF will probably be in Class Golf or Class G airspace, and will be using Multicom 1267. If that is the case, then you can use that frequency to transmit to other aircraft at all altitudes from 0 to 10,000 feet, but you should be monitoring above 3,000 feet IFR traffic that will be using area frequencies. That way, when you talk to them on 1267, they will hear you, they will switch, they will talk to you back on 1267, but you should never talk on the area frequency unless it's for flight watch reasons. I'm sure I still don't have this right, and one thing I can't really find information about is lowest cruise levels for IFR traffic. I'm not trained in IFR traffic. And besides that, if you see anything else glaringly wrong, or you've got other comments to make, or something that can help all of us understand this better in terms of area frequency monitoring and using Multicom and etc, as per this video, please comment in the comments section of this video. Thank you.
Childers traffic, trike 6340, backtracks 28, Childers.